Hey, welcome to Manila Updates TV. Please subscribe and press the bell icon for more updates. Breaking news from Manila. Tonight, the Philippines has officially become the 51st state of the United States. Crowds fill the streets, some celebrate, waving both flags. Others protest, angered by the loss of sovereignty. The world is stunned, global markets tumble, and governments scramble to respond. Outside Malacanang Palace, military police in American uniforms stand guard as the last Filipino president hands power to a U.S. governor. News helicopters circle, broadcasting the moment worldwide. Analysts call it the biggest geopolitical shift since the Cold War. In Beijing, condemnation is swift. China calls it colonial aggression and a threat to regional peace. The PLA Navy is on high alert, warships moving aggressively in disputed waters. The world fears a flashpoint for conflict. In Washington, the president hails a new era of democracy and pledges to defend the new state with full U.S. might. Yet behind the scenes, officials scramble to manage the fallout and reassure nervous allies. Emergency meetings fill the Pentagon. Diplomats work the phones. The global balance of power has shifted overnight. The Philippines is no longer just a nation. It's now the front line of a new world order. The risks are enormous, the future uncertain. A new chapter in history begins, written in the language of power and peril. The West Philippine Sea dispute is now a direct U.S.-China confrontation. Scarborough Shoal, the Spratlys, these are now, in Washington's eyes, American territory. An attack on a Filipino fishing boat is now an attack on U.S. citizens. The 2016 Hague ruling is no longer just a legal win for Manila. It's a precedent the U.S. can now enforce. Any Chinese vessel in these waters is now trespassing on U.S. territory. China's gray zone tactics become far riskier. The U.S.-Philippines Mutual Defense Treaty now covers American soil. Beijing's ambitions for the South China Sea have become a strategic nightmare. U.S. warships now patrol China's doorstep, upending the regional balance. For Filipino fishermen, U.S. protection brings security, but also turns their waters into a superpower flashpoint. A simple fishing dispute could now trigger a global crisis. The South China Sea is no longer just a regional issue. It's the world's most dangerous front line. The stakes have never been higher. Philippine statehood means a massive permanent U.S. military expansion. Bases like Subic and Clark become sprawling American fortresses, bristling with warships, jets, and missile defenses. The Philippines is now the most fortified U.S. territory in the Indo-Pacific. American and Chinese forces operate in close quarters, raising the risk of accidental conflict. A single misstep, a collision, a misread radar, could spiral into war within minutes. China responds with its own buildup, militarizing islands and deploying advanced missiles. Daily standoffs between U.S. and Chinese jets become the new normal. The conflict extends to cyberspace and even space, with satellites and networks as targets. The Philippines, now a U.S. state, is the front line of 21st century great power rivalry. Its cities and ports are potential targets in any escalation. Security comes at the price of living in the crosshairs of a superpower standoff. The region is a powder keg, one spark away from disaster. The world holds its breath. U.S. law now governs over 7,000 islands in Southeast Asia. The Philippines adopts the dollar. Federal trade and labor laws apply. Filipino industries face fierce competition, but new markets open for American goods. The South China Sea, a vital artery for global trade, is now bordered by a U.S. state. Washington gains unprecedented leverage over commerce to and from China, Japan, and South Korea. U.S. strategy shifts from alliances to direct sovereignty. America is now a permanent resident in Asia. Allies, like Japan and South Korea, feel reassured. Others must choose sides. The region's delicate balancing act between Washington and Beijing collapses. The Philippines becomes the most populous U.S. state, sending a large delegation to Congress. Filipino-American political power surges, shaping U.S. policy on China and the Indo-Pacific. Domestic U.S. politics and Asian geopolitics become inseparable. The feedback loop between Manila and Washington will shape global affairs for decades. The legal and economic order of the region is upended. The Philippines is no longer just a player, it's a power broker. The world's center of gravity shifts. If the Philippines had become a state after the Spanish-American War, history would look very different. World War II in the Pacific would have been a direct attack on U.S. soil, intensifying America's response. The defense of the Philippines would be a fight to reclaim American territory, possibly shifting U.S. strategy in the war. The Cold War would see the US anchored in Southeast Asia, changing the dynamics of Korea and Vietnam. No Marcos, no people power revolution. Filipino politics would be shaped by US federal law. The struggle would shift from independence to civil rights and representation. The narrative would be one of integration, not liberation. The shared history of colonialism and alliance would be rewritten. For Filipinos, it means a different national story. For Americans, a more complex Pacific legacy. The lines between East and West, colonizer and colonized, would blur. The world would be fundamentally changed. The Philippines becomes the western hub of a new US strategic triangle: Hawaii, Guam, and Manila. This triangle forms a near-impenetrable barrier, projecting American power deep into Asia. Massive infrastructure investment transforms the islands: new highways, ports, airports, and secure networks. The Philippines is fully integrated into the US logistical and military system. Allies like Japan, South Korea, and Australia feel more secure, deepening cooperation. The Quad and AUKUS gain a powerful new focal point. The Philippines becomes the staging ground for Indo-Pacific defense. But this fortress is also a target. China sees it as an existential threat. In any conflict, the Philippines would be the first battlefield. Security is a double-edged sword. It deters aggression, but also invites danger. The dream of a fortress could become a nightmare of siege. The stakes for the region, and the world, are enormous. Statehood grants US citizenship to over 110 million Filipinos. The right to live and work anywhere in America becomes reality. The dream of migration is transformed. Economic opportunity surges. US minimum wage, Social Security, and Medicare apply. Poverty could plummet, but the cost of living and inflation would soar. Local businesses face upheaval. Traditional industries may collapse. Culturally, American influence intensifies. English dominates. US brands and media flood daily life. The unique Filipino identity faces pressure from assimilation. Younger generations may feel more American than Filipino. A fierce debate erupts. Can one be fully American and fully Filipino? Some embrace the change. Others fight to preserve heritage. The struggle for identity becomes the defining issue of the new state. The answer will shape generations to come. ASEAN faces an existential crisis as the Philippines exits and the US becomes a direct neighbor. The bloc's neutrality collapses. The region is pulled into the US-China rivalry. Members like Singapore may welcome stronger US presence, while others, reliant on China, face tough choices. ASEAN unity fractures along pro-US and pro-China lines. Regional economic and diplomatic initiatives stall. The South China Sea Code of Conduct becomes irrelevant. New groupings may emerge. Maritime states align with the US, mainland states with China. The dream of a unified Southeast Asia shatters. ASEAN's crisis mirrors a new, polarized world order. Philippine statehood offers security, prosperity, and a seat at the world's most powerful table. US military might deters foreign threats. Federal funds promise development and jobs. But the price is steep: the loss of sovereignty and an independent voice. Filipino identity faces the pressure of assimilation. National destiny is now tied to Washington. For the US, it's a strategic coup, but also a commitment to a complex new state and a permanent rivalry with China. Domestic politics and culture on both sides will be forever changed. The ultimate question: is a nation measured by its power and prosperity, or by its independence and spirit? For the Philippines, statehood could be paradise, or the loss of its soul. The answer lies not in power, but in the hearts of its people. The world watches as history is rewritten.